right, to my brothers and sisters in the business, welcome to yet another episode of Broker's Playbook podcast. Today, I have a new friend, a new strategic partner, somebody who I believe we're going to be working together for a long time. So it is an episode where I'm bringing someone that I feel brings value to the industry, and her name is Lucy Biocca. She's a mortgage broker. She's part of today's Mortgage Choice, the DLC group of companies, and she's an 11-year veteran in the business. I had lunch with her about a month ago out in Burlington, Ontario, and we really connected with each other on more than just, hi, I'm a mortgage broker, I'm my agent, how can we do some deals together? It seems like a lot of the values that I have in the business and what I'm trying to do is something that she's been doing and strives to do furthermore in her future business dealings, in her future personal dealings. Lucy Biocca, welcome to the show. It's our pleasure and honor to have you share your insights with us. As always, and as a reminder, the whole point of the Broker's Playbook podcast, is to elevate the game. Mm-hmm. I want you to share the insights that have made you successful. I want you to share the insights that potentially brought you 2 steps back, because they're as important as the ones that brought you forward.
Absolutely, they are.
Every L, as I like to call it, is a lesson, not a loss. Mm-hmm. And every time we get either held back or misstep, we just know what to look out for the next time. Let's start from scratch. Tell me a little bit about how you got to mortgage brokering, and of course, where are you at today?
So I started brokering 11 years ago, actually. And what led me to brokering was my, we'll say my past experience with banking. I climbed the corporate ladder, and then I just decided that working for the bank was not the direction I wanted to stay. And it wasn't the direction I wanted to stay because there's that corporate environment where I just didn't feel like I could be myself. I wasn't.
Well, you're not yourself. You're not yourself in a corporate environment.
Exactly.
You have to assume whatever identity the corporation strives for, or their culture that they are in.
Exactly.
So it's not for everyone. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not for everyone.
No, and it wasn't for me. You're stuck in this square box. And quite truthfully, I became very, very tired of declining people for something, whether it was a mortgage or a credit card or a loan, when truly I didn't believe that the client should have been declined. I believe the bank didn't have a product for them.
Isn't that interesting? As a broker, mortgage brokers, because I get asked all the time, like I meet with a client, I'm going to go to my bank, the red one or the green one, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to see what they have to say to me. And I always have to say, let's take it one step at a time. Mm-hmm. Going to the bank that you've used for the last 20 years may not be the best option right now. Have you spoken to a professional whose only function is to find the appropriate product for your circumstance?
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about what defines, so this is a real estate agent and a mortgage broker podcast. You're not the first broker to be on. Of
course.
You won't be the last. But to you, what really defines your actual job? What's the jobbing of mortgage brokering, above and beyond the entrepreneurial, the assistance? What is the actual function when we say finding the right product for the right person?
It's understanding what the client needs. It's understanding, and I mean truly understanding. I don't mean this is what the client's circumstance is right now. Where are they going to be in 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now? And of course, that's a long time. Nobody knows that. But have a conversation with them.
Like, what is their goals?
Understand what their goals are. Have a conversation with the realtor. Okay, I have tons of referral partners. I love working with referral partners and realtors, and I'll tell you why. Because my job, truthfully, is to make sure that your deal closes. My job is to make sure you get paid and that client is happy and you look like a rock star on so many levels with that client. So to me, a partnership is what we should be. You need to use me or in my opinion, you should use me for how you can get your deal closed. And sometimes it's outside the box. And sometimes it's, oh, this is AAA. Everything's great.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. And even the easy peasy ones nowadays are not so easy peasy.
Well, I think I'm going to take you back to one thing that you said. And the one thing that you said is understanding what really the client is about and having that conversation. As an investment-focused realtor, which I am, I'm a commercial broker, I'm an investment broker. But even to any residential broker, brand new, 10 or 20 years experience, it's irrelevant. Unless you understand your client's plan, you cannot service them. And that starts with the house. It starts with the investment. It starts with the mortgage. It's the whole thing. So if anybody's wondering what Lucy is implying by understanding, how can I do my job if I don't understand what the goal here is?
Absolutely.
Because it's easy to close a deal, but if Simeon, the client, so if I was a client and I had to close on a condo or a duplex, and I came to you and said, give me a mortgage for this duplex. Okay, here's a mortgage for this duplex. But if you now stonewalled me, tied up all my resources, used all my covenants, any personal guarantees, any net worth statements, I'm now landlocked for the term of this mortgage or further because I should have had a private mortgage that allows me to buy a second and third property. The interest rate might be higher, all the different variables that go into deal structure. But you would not know that unless either the agent or the client themselves opened up the conversation properly.
Absolutely.
So with that said, where does the responsibility of the agent start when they are referring a piece of business? So you're not, this isn't your first rodeo. So you've been at this for 11 years. You've closed hundreds of deals. Let's talk a little bit about practical and tactical. I want to start a brand new relationship with Lucy Biocca for you to be my go-to mortgage broker.
Okay.
What advice do you have to give to me, whether I'm new or intermediate or senior? How do you want to see referrals come in where you can say, you give me this type of referral in, and I will give you the ultimate client experience? How do you like to see referrals come in? And because the way you will say this will be 99.9% of seasoned mortgage brokers.
It might be 99.9%.
I take it back. You are far superior than most. Let's go with how you like it.
I'm going to be honest with you. I want to get to know you, the referring agent. I want to know how you want to send me. I want to know how you communicate. How do you like to send off deals? How much volume do you have on your plate? Do you have time to go through, write me a 2-page email on this client? No, you don't. So each relationship is going to be slightly different. I have a process that I follow. However, the initial part of a referral is not going to be based on how I want to see it. It's going to be based on how it makes your life easier. If it makes your life easier where you say, you send me a text message, Lucy, I've got John Smith. This is what he's looking for. This is the relationship we have. Here's his phone number and his email address. Take it away. I'm good with that. If you want to send me an email that says A, B, C, and D, this is what we've done. This is how we want to move forward. I'm all for that. But at the end of the day, as a mortgage broker, it's my job to get the information and build the relationship with the client. You're building your relationship You're building your relationship with the client. You and I have theoretically, in most cases, already built our relationship together. We understand how we work.
And how we complement each other.
Exactly. Okay. And now it's my job to talk to the client. It's my job to understand my part of what the client needs.
Yes.
I have to ask the client questions. Okay, now, I've got tons of different referral partners, some text, some email. Some just give me a call and say, hey, take this guy's number down. And I'm fine with that. But at the end of the day, before you've even referred somebody to me, or vice versa for that matter, because obviously I'm going to make referrals to you as well, at the end of the day, we already have an understanding of how you and I will work together and what type of clients you have and what my expertise are. So that's part of the relationship part of it. In all honesty, if you don't have a relationship with a mortgage broker, it doesn't matter what a mortgage broker knows or a realtor knows, as long as they find the resources. My favorite line in this business is, honestly, there's never a lack of resources. There's a lack of resourcefulness.
No doubt about it.
So if you have the resources, you won't have a problem as a mortgage broker. And you'll be adaptable enough to understand what resources you need right away.
Well, and in some cases, it's not so clear. So I think what's coming out of this, and it's very simple, because there's going to be people watching and listening to this that just got their real estate or mortgage license. And there's going to be people who listen to this that have been at it for longer than I have, which is 15 years, that are in their 20th or 25th year. The whole point of the exercise, in my opinion, what I've learned out of this business, any fake person, anybody who's faking it till they make it and pretending and all the things, you will get snuffed out in this market, in this specifically, to make sure we date this, April/May 2023, that we're seeing a small rebound out of the worst record in over 10 years, being February 2022 to February 2023, with 8 interest rate increases that scared the daylights out of an entire country and put them into hiding. And now we're slowly snuffing the market activity back out. And we'll do so with education.
Yes.
If you just started and you simply don't know what I just said, doesn't make sense to you, it's fine. It happens.
Absolutely.
We all started somewhere. I started in a cool year that was 07, 08, 09 were my first years in real estate. And guess what? The Lehman Brothers had just gone bankrupt. The world had a little accident in their pants. The entire world at the time had an accident in their pants. But luckily, within 6 months, 1 year, as we always see, humans like to forget trauma and move on with positivity, and the market progressed and all the things happened. And here we are 15 years later to talk about it and celebrate life with a successful career. If you're just starting in real estate or in mortgage brokering, you're speaking to a client. What do you say if the client asks you a question and you don't know the answer? What is the right thing to say as a brand new mortgage agent?
That is a very interesting question, is what I would say. I don't have the answer right now, but I will get it for you. And that's what you say.
And that, my friends, is exactly verbatim what anyone should say when they don't have the answer to any question, be it simple or complex.
Yes.
That is an interesting question because you're acknowledging the question they asked you. You know you do not know the answer. And instead of weaving up nonsense, you will be humble,
yes,
patient, and prudent enough to get back to them with the appropriate information.
I'd like to add one word to those 3 words.
Please.
Transparent.
Yes.
if you're not transparent in this business, that's a big problem.
It's a big problem in anything.
It's a big problem in anything.
It's a big problem in anything.
This really is a person's livelihood. How many people have the opportunity to own more than one?
The victim of your actions
yes.
is somebody who's going to pay for it for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
So
100%.
So the stakes are high.
Very high.
And I like to acknowledge that because after doing this for a while, you do get complacent with the fact that, oh, that was just a $700,000 transaction, not a $2 million transaction. When is the last time you lost $700K or were jeopardized or put in a pickle with $700K being the roundup error?
And we had a conversation, you and I, just a few moments ago, not necessarily on our podcast right now, but we talked about what makes a good realtor, what makes a good mortgage broker. It's commitment. I have to be, as your mortgage broker, I have to be committed to you. I have to be committed to the transaction. But first and foremost, there are people, normal, everyday people that work their whole life to pay off a mortgage, to own a home, to give their kids something after they're no longer here.
Legacy.
Their legacy, whatever you want to call it, they are people. And it doesn't matter how important $100,000 or $1,000 or $1 million or $100 million is to us. That's everything to them. And there's people at the end of the day.
It is always fascinating to put it into context because I personally do that all the time because I overlook a team of 60 agents. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at 600, 700, 800 transactions a year. And does your eye and mind sometimes get numb to the numbers? Do you sometimes feel like this is quick? Okay, this is simple. This is a little one. What's a little one? Stop yourself. To who is it little?
Yep. 100%.
Was the transaction fee little to me? Because that was somebody's life's aspiration, their life's work. Mm-hmm. So putting it into context and always trying to stay kind of in the moment, humble in the transaction level is important. Lucy, we talked about commitment, loyalty, service to client. 2023, we have seen the rise of teams across the entire industry, mortgage agents included. Why do you feel this overwhelming amount of data that is readily available to everyone? This was supposed to free the consumer. Mm-hmm. When data started coming out and everybody's like, no, everything's accessible to me. There's now a lot, maybe too much, accessible to everyone, where the ability to decipher, properly analyze, and make a solid decision is harder than ever. Mm-hmm. Is that what it is? Because that's the way I see it.
That's exactly the way it is, in my opinion. Okay, data's everywhere, but where are you getting it from?
So which data do you use and for what purpose?
Exactly. Okay, so as a consumer, and I deal with tons of first-time home buyers as well. I read this online, and I read this online.
And they contradict each other.
And they contradict each other, and I don't understand. And my kids are prime examples of this. My daughter messages me every once in a while and says, Mom, is this something I can do? And it could be anything. It could be something, something that pertains to mortgages in the States. We can't differentiate in most cases. Most consumers out there are not differentiating if it's a Canadian market or a US market, or if it's an Australian market.
And what does that mean?
Exactly. And beyond that, at this point in time, and especially in this market, and again, you and I have talked about this before, we need to understand each and every single client we're working with. There could be one tiny little nuance about their individual circumstance that brings them from an A file. When I say an A file, I mean your typical AAA. And it could be something they think is so minute. But that particular matter or that particular factor brings them to a private. So they think they're going to get a 5%, 4.5%, 5% interest rate. When if they have 20% down, they're going to get a 10% interest rate. right? You need to...
And of course, the ability to be able to interpret and explain why and how that happens.
Exactly.
In a way that doesn't jeopardize the realtor relationship.
Absolutely.
In a way that doesn't deflate the client directly to a point where they put their dream of home ownership and or real estate investment on hold indefinitely.
Mm-hmm. And again, we have this culture that has been encouraged. I'm not here to bash banks. I work with banks.
Yes, all day.
Okay.
All day,
So
every day.
banks have their place. But I can honestly tell you this because I used to be a banker. And I understand the mindset of being a banker. And the bank and the standard institutions have fostered this environment of, if we don't have a product for you, the problem is yours, not ours.
Or you're the problem,
or
not
you
us.
are the problem, not us. That is not the case. That is absolutely not the case.
And that is 99.9% ignorance by both the agent, the consumer, and or the banker at hand.
Absolutely.
For not having product knowledge outside of the realm of their own ecosystem.
Absolutely. And then you get mortgage brokers and mortgage agents who don't understand B lending. And it's just because they do mostly A. And that's okay. But the importance of finding that resource and finding that mortgage broker or mortgage agent that has access to and understands B lenders. And we're not just talking one lender. We're talking 5, 6, 7 lenders, 7 B lenders, 8 if you can.
Give me an example of just some company names that are active B lenders in the Canadian marketplace right now.
Home Trust, Equitable Bank, CW, Canadian Western Bank, which is Optimum Mortgages. Who else do I deal with? First National, Excalibur, MCAP, Eclipse. Those are the ones that off the top of my head.
And I'll just stop you. Off the top of your head, you named 7, 8 institutions that I would imagine if I were to ask you a follow-up question as give me the head of the division that you speak to at each one, you would know them by first and last name basis. You've done deals with them, etc. This speaks to an 11-year track record.
Do you know what else it speaks to? I'm just going to say.
Please.
When I first started, I love realtors. I do. I love the environment. I love what realtors have created for themselves in terms of a community. But you and I both know that when you're a new mortgage agent or you're a mortgage agent and you want to work with a certain realtor, guess what they're going to give you first?
Their worst files ever.
Exactly.
Of course.
So that's me.
Prove yourself.
Exactly.
Prove yourself.
That is 11 years of me saying, that is a very interesting question.
Yes.
I'm going to find out and I'm going to get back to you.
It's interesting when I was, because I come from the receivables business, contingency. In third party, it's collections where people are, like I work for Amex and for CIBC. Small business portfolios where I call small business owners to say, hi, Lucy, you're a small business owner. You own the hardwood store in Erin, Ontario. Your Amex bill, it's $42,000. You're supposed to pay the charge card every month, your business charge card. What happened? Lucy says, listen, the economy, this is what's going down. I have to pay payroll. I'm going to have everything to you by the 15th of the month. 90% of the time, Lucy paid it. But there was 10% of the time where Lucy didn't. From the people that went into second, third, fourth month and eventually into default, the common denominator was one thing. The people who got saved owned real estate and refinanced it. The people who got hung out to dry and eventually either filed for bankruptcy protection or consumer proposals or all the different things were the people who didn't own real estate. For every person out there, every civilian, non-real estate agent, mortgage broker, for every brand new real estate agent, mortgage broker, what is the absolute value of a mortgage agent? I want you to define it.
Okay.
Crystal clear. And the second follow-up question is the difference of the said description at year 1 and year 10. So who were you at year 1? And what has changed at Lucy at year 11? So what is a perfect mortgage broker and the difference from year 1 to year 10?
So I'm going to start with your difference from year 1 to year 10 first. If you don't mind, I'm going to flip that.
But the reason I say this is because I told you what you're solving for.
Mhm.
Business owner
Mhm.
or school principal that got divorced, could have been a million different things. So whether they're self-employed and failing,
Mhm.
they need help, they own a property, they want to get saved. If they reach out to Lucy at year 1, they reached out, what is the perfect description of a mortgage agent? Why did they call you in the first place? And then I want the difference between Lucy at year 1 and Lucy at year 10.
Okay. What that client needs, regardless of whether
Yes.
they're a principal or they are, a business that is, they own a business that's not doing as well as they anticipated. The first thing that they need is they need somebody to hear them. Listen without responding. Listen without judgment. And be able to ask them, why are we here today and what do you need from me? Most of the time they don't know. But when you pose a question to a client and they don't know how to answer it, that's when you start to learn things about them because they're looking for answers and they don't necessarily know that they're answering properly. But in order for them to be able to answer any question, they need to feel comfortable with you. You need to be a sounding board without judgment. You have to know as much as you can, but you have to make them feel like
Isn't it
humble.
Isn't it amazing?
Humility.
Isn't it amazing that you're identifying? If I just got introduced to a stranger, and I am in probably either my darkest hour or pretty damn close to, I'm reaching out to a mortgage broker because I was told that this person can help me. There is no way that that feels good.
Exactly.
So off the bat, the client, the consumer, who's reaching out for a
Lifeline or help or whatever.
is already at a dynamic that they are on the receiving end,
Mm-hmm.
not the giving end.
Mm-hmm.
Most professionals, unfortunately, and I'm sure every single person listening can resonate with it, most professionals, I'm the big bad banker. Tell me about it and how you got into this mess and what can you do to fix it, as opposed to listening exactly what you are saying. I personally deploy the strategy that I heard from my mentor, my late partner, Simon, and that is he would ask people, and in return, I ask people, his legacy lives on, is Lucy, if you had a magic wand, anything is possible. Tell me what's in your mind right now. What would this solution look like right now? And they're going to go off into their amazing minds and describe the circumstances, whether realistic or unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
So now I know what you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll tell me and slowly open up as to if life was perfect and my partner didn't pass away 2 years ago and my kid's off to whatever and all the millions of things that happen to people, I would be sitting here on my porch with $1 million, etc.
Mm-hmm.
My subsequent question is, so what resources do we have to even attempt getting there?
Exactly.
Slowly, again, they open up and they're going to speak to, I lost my home, but my cousin lives next door. My mother, my father, the Pope, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
The approach of listening, active listening, and empathy has served me well.
Me too.
Is empathy a key to doing business in 2023? Because a lot of people say process and systems, or is there a place for both?
There's definitely a place for both. Absolutely a place for both. But if there's no empathy, there's a transaction. That's it. There's one transaction. There's no relationship. And I go back to this because there was a particular time in my career where I moved on to a brokerage as a, let's put it this way, took over $100 million book of business. It was about $100 million, and everything became transactional. And it's really easy to lose focus that there's a person on the back of that transaction. And it didn't work for me. I didn't want it. I was miserable. At that point, that I think that was like 6 years ago or something like that.
So halfway.
Halfway. I didn't have, as a broker, I didn't have the resources in place to be able to handle both the relationship and the volume. Okay. But I'm going off in a different tangent. But with that being said, you have to find what's important to you. And again, why are you doing this? I love people. I sincerely want to see a transaction finish. I want to see a transaction finish because I love to see clients. I love to see first-time home buyers get into a home, and I've made a little bit of a difference in that.
Yeah, you're part of their story.
Exactly. I love having referral partners, and we'll touch on the difference between a referral source and a referral partner. Okay. I love it when I was a part of a transaction that helped Simeon get paid. That helped Simeon take his family on vacation or whatever your why is. So at the end of the day, it's all people. You're going to put infrastructure in place. You're going to do a whole bunch of different things, and you're going to try until you got it. But the one thing
it's so difficult, and I have to, and I'm going to interject only because it's so difficult to keep a conversation like this on a single track. It really is. It really is. But I think we have a perfect definition of what a good mortgage broker is through at least 10 examples of context. And that is an active listener with empathy that is interested in seeing somebody win. Mm-hmm. You also explained your why, which is you love people, you want to be a part of their story. Mm-hmm. I just want to finish the thought of Lucy at year 1 and Lucy at year 11. Do you think you were as relevant, as connected, as experienced? It's an obvious answer. It's a rhetorical question. But I want you to explain to me from your journey, how did you feel, or where do you feel your why was and your mind was versus where it is today?
At year 1, it was about getting that deal. It was about that one deal. I have to learn how to get the client. And of course, as a mortgage agent, when you first start, everybody tells you, oh, you got to go to realtors. What you don't realize is how are you going to build that relationship with the realtors? So at the beginning, it's, I need a deal because I have to pay my rent or I have to pay my mortgage. Mm-hmm. At year 11, you understand what works and what doesn't work for you individually. I guarantee if you have another mortgage broker come in here, they're going to have a different story. They're going to have a different why. They're going to have a different way of going about getting to where I am at right now. Okay. So my way at year 1 was I got to find a deal. I got to pay bills. At year 11, it's I've tried everything that I can think of. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. I look at my business and I can say, how do I add value to Simeon Papilia's business? I'm sorry, I hope I said your name right.
Close enough.
I'm sorry.
We're still making a t-shirt with all the variations.
Okay,
Don't worry.
Oh, I need one of those. I absolutely
need
one. How do I add value to your business? And that, how do I add value, becomes what does my what infrastructure do I have in place that allows me to build the relationship that Simeon is looking for? And there are a lot of new agents out there that have tremendous potential, both in real estate, both in mortgage brokering. But I'm going to be honest with you, those new agents need a mentor. And a mentor that is going to say, look, buddy, I love you. I know you're discouraged. Can I use a little bit of a word that I probably
Yes, you
shouldn't?
may. Yes, you may.
Get off your ass and do this.
Yes.
And if you don't have, I know that that's what I needed. Okay, I want to say 6 years ago. No, it's longer than that. Anyways, when I have a particular mentor, Roy. Okay. When I went into his brokerage, I was underwriting for him. I was also doing my own business. I think I was 2.5, 3 years in. And I didn't know what I didn't know. But I knew that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I had to take a step back and actually say, is this ego of mine going to hold me back because I don't know what I don't know? Or am I going to take a step back and say, I got to do something differently? Because if I don't do something differently right now, I'm making this harder for myself. And if I'm making it harder for myself, I'm making it harder for my kids. So you step back. And I said, I got to learn. So I joined Roy as his underwriter and as a separate agent. And I want to say, I don't know, less than a year later, maybe a year and a half later.
You came out a different person.
Oh, not only did I come out of a different person. Again, there's always that fear as a single mom. You know, am I going to make it out on my own? You have a little nest egg there.
Comfort.
Until Roy
and
came to me.
Comfort is one of the most dangerous things on the planet.
Exactly. And Roy came to me and he said, you got to go out on your own. And we still have a wonderful relationship. This guy's just, I love him to pieces.
Well, there's a reason
like a brother.
But there's a reason he had this kind of impact on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so he said, you got to go out on your own. You're ready.
An enabler. He's an enabler. He enables success.
Yes, he absolutely did enable my success. He was a part of it. So there's other people, but Roy came to me and he said, give me a date. And I said, Roy, I'm not ready. He goes, yeah, you are. You're ready. And I said, no, I'm not. And he looked at me and he goes, this is the kind of relationship we had. He goes, don't make me fire you. And I looked at him and I said, I'm too damn good. You won't fire me. And he looked back at me and he goes, yeah, you're good. That's why you got to do this. Was I ever afraid?
Sure.
Single mom, no safety net. And I looked at him and I said, I've never been fired in my life. You're not going to be the first.
No.
So June 1st. Actually, no. Yes, I said June 1st. And then on June 1st, I said, listen, I can't make any changes. I'm so busy. You're so busy. This is not the right time. He goes, okay, what's your date? I said, November 1st. Well, November is by far the worst time to ever go out on your own. Simeon, I can see the look on your face. You're like, oh boy.
Yeah.
And November, December, January, I cry when I get overwhelmed, but I don't cry because I don't feel like I can do something. I cry when I get overwhelmed. I was crying because I didn't know what the hell I did. And then it was, you're taking a step back or you're leaping forward.
Yep.
Everybody needs that Roy in their life. Every new agent needs that.
Well, I think that's a universal truth. I think that truth is ringing harder, faster, and louder as the years go by, because the world is becoming more complex and faster in the way it does business today than more than ever, with the rise of apps, technology enabling the journey, half the journey, prop techs bringing in different solutions at different stages of the game, and still we have to make sense of it all.
Mm-hmm.
If a client has invested in a technology that helps them get halfway through their home selling journey, and they call me tomorrow and say, well, I messed it all up, this doesn't work, fix it, I still have to go.
Mm-hmm.
Do some active listening with empathy and figure out what the solution is and actually deliver a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Involve Lucy or your Lucy in your market. Figure out the solution and get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
My advice is very simple to new agents. And this is not a knock at whether you can do it or you can't do it. This is not a knock at all, because I was a new agent too. Lucy was a new agent too. So nobody is pompous or sitting on a high horse telling you what you can or cannot do. But I will tell you that no matter how able, how amazing, how your results right now are working, you simply have not experienced the closing of 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 properties.
Absolutely.
The way I or someone who looks just like me or just like you has. Experience cannot be bought or bargained for, but you can always count on the best people in this business and in any business to be the ones who share the most.
Yes.
The more successful someone truly is, the more you will see that they are happy to share the lessons, the losses, which are lessons, and the wins, and the triumphs, and how to make. I have had 90-year-old men tell me a story from their day that is not only relevant to today, those are universal truths. People have always hurt people. People have always helped people, and that will never change. So as a new agent, what is the best thing they can do or give back to promote mentorship? How does one go find a mentor, Lucy?
I think you're going to go find a mentor the same way that you're going to go and find a deal. The same way you're going to go and find a friend. You're going to put yourself out there. You're going to talk to people. I think one of the things that I was hardest on myself about through this whole journey of, from 1 year to year 11 was I didn't give myself grace when I made a mistake, because the reality is we are going to have wins and we are going to have learning opportunities.
Yep.
Okay. And we need to be self-aware enough to understand this was a learning opportunity. And it may have come through a financial loss. It may have come through losing a client or a referral partner or something. But be aware that, this is not the best way to do things. And how can I do this better? And if you don't know, or if I don't know, then you need to get on that phone, or you need to go into your office and you need to have somebody to ask.
Yes.
Everybody needs a mentor. I was afraid to ask questions when I first started. My first two and a half years were a disaster. I didn't know how to hustle for business. I just know I needed it. Okay, where do I start?
What does hustling actually mean?
Exactly. Does it mean sitting on my computer all day long working on a marketing piece or social media? No, it doesn't. What I learned, again, from year 1 to year 11 is I don't like doing everything, but I'm good at doing some things. And those things that I'm really good at doing are the things that I need to do more of. And then there's always that one thing that allows me to step outside of my comfort zone and do it.
And that's how you grow.
And do it again. and then do it again. And that's how you grow. You know, the first time I had a couple of team members, oh my God, I was a horrible leader. I was a manager. That's not what makes a good team leader.
Well, a leader and a manager are two different things.
Exactly. But I didn't realize the difference at the time. Right? So what happens? There was severe disconnect, serious disconnect. I was not the right leader for them. I just wasn't. Am I now? I think so.
You hope so.
Absolutely.
It's a work in progress.
It's always a work in progress.
Because leadership involves culture. Culture
Yes.
is not something that can be bought. It's not. It's intangible.
Absolutely.
It's a feeling. It's the way somebody is inspired. A leader inspires. A manager manages.
Exactly. So I was a great manager when I was managing, you know, previously with.
But that's managing.
Exactly. That is just an example for me, you know, over the years of, you know, what's the difference between 1 and 11.
I like that.
That's the difference
I
between
think
1
you've
and
done
11.
a really good job in covering a lot of the advice to new mortgage agents.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same advice to new real estate agents, precisely, actually. Change the word mortgage, leave agent. It's one and the exact same because we're solving for the same problems together. But earlier you mentioned, how does Lucy work with Simeon? And you said, it's my job to look within my infrastructure to find a value proposition that Simeon can plug into, or else I don't have anything. I think for any agent, because I'm not going to say mortgage or real estate at this point.
I know.
It's one or the, it doesn't matter. Let's move on to the intermediates and seniors. You are an intelligent and prudent enough businesswoman to know that unless you have a value prop, I can't even look at you for the purposes of business. And why is that? Because you're already coming in here knowing that I have a significant machine. So like any senior agent, whether in mortgage or in real estate, whether you're solo or on a team, if you're in it for 11 years and you're doing X, Y, Z amount, it doesn't matter what you're doing. There's an infrastructure and a process. Whether you have a link up at the local Legion, the cop shop, the hospital, somebody's feeding you business. You turned on a source and a tap, and you have a viable, amazing, beneficial business. If you have a team, you have a team. If you're solo, you're solo, but you have your own processes. We know there's a difference between a referral partner and a mortgage partner, for that matter, versus a referral source. Source is where the business comes from. A partner is how we close and grow.
Yes.
Relationship, transaction.
Yes.
If I hear one more broker offer me 30 points on the dollar, 40 points on the dollar, 50 points on the dollar, it doesn't matter how far you can drop your pants for me. I have zero interest in you because you can't buy my trust and my client. I actually haven't received, me personally, I can't speak for anyone else, and there is no wrong answer. You run your businesses as you see fit.
Yeah, I agree.
But I personally haven't received a mortgage referral check in the last 12 of my 15 years. 12 of 15. Because I understood the value of the mortgage broker who will actually take the time to close my business.
Yes.
Will be the same broker that feeds my funnels with actual transactions where the commission is worth 15 mortgage referrals.
Can I tell you how many?
Yes, please.
How many referral fees I've paid? Can you guess?
None.
Exactly. And it's not because I'm not willing to.
Happy.
Absolutely. You want 20 points? Fine.
Sure.
But at the end of the day,
what's it for?
If that is the value that you see in our relationship, first of all, we don't have a relationship. If that's all the value that you see in me, I've done something seriously wrong. because I truly have a lot more to bring. My team and I have a lot more to bring to a transaction than 20 basis points. I want to know you. I want to know how you do things, why you do things. I want to be there with you in the trenches.
So I want to make something very clear to everybody so you don't misconstrue it. I actually got into real estate itself in way of when I worked for American Express and CIBC, just for people to understand the story and not think there's hypocrisy here. Because mortgage broker referral checks is how I actually ran into the business.
Wow.
I worked for Amex and CIBC, and then I would speak to Lucy, the business owner, hardware store up north. She owns a home. I'm like, Lucy, I heard that you might be able to refinance, because I'm listening to the senior agents at Amex and CIBC speak to their client. You mind if I introduce you to a broker? They're like, no problem. Save me, Simeon.
Yep.
Because I listened. I was empathetic. I have a strategic business mind myself. I would make a referral and I would get a check. Within 6 months of my first referral check, my referral checks were more than my pay, which is a 6-figure job in banking, I suppose. Call it contingency, call it recovery, small business portfolio. So I discovered a sleeping giant sitting beside me that people are willing to pay to source business. And I received tens of thousands of dollars over the years in that business. So I'm not telling anyone by any means that a referral check is not worth its weight.
Absolutely.
All I'm saying is that in due course, and unless it happens in due course, then I will criticize you that you're wrong. You have to go from transactional to relationship-based if you ever want to own a business. If you don't have relationships of trust and integrity that are founded on the principles of growth, the minute that you don't give a referral, that person will never give you a referral. The minute that you don't call them, they will stop calling you.
There's nothing wrong with a transaction-based business, Simeon.
No.
Nothing
But know
at
that
all.
that's what it is.
Exactly. And the way that I choose to run my business and what feeds my soul, to be honest with you, is the relationship. I'm not motivated by money in any way.
So I know we don't want to offend somebody who's transactional.
Absolutely.
But on the same token, on a long term, and I can take slack for this if anybody wants to give it, unless you're a sociopath, there's only so long you can run a transactional only based business. There has to be a time where you need to feed your soul. There has to be a time where you've made enough money, you've done enough transactions, enough. Can I focus on a little bit more depth at this point? Again, I'm happy to argue this, but if you're in the business 10 years and you're still only transactional, well, maybe there's a problem. You might be in the wrong business. Like what feeds your soul? Because right now,
I'm going to interject there for one quick second, because I feel like both of us have come into a place in our lives where the transaction is important. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
And we have certain goals and places that we want to reach. But we've gotten there.
Yes.
What's
that's all
more?
I'm getting at.
Yes.
That's all I'm getting at.
There's not a problem with transactional business. It just doesn't feed me anymore. I've done that. And it's okay if it continues to feed somebody else. I do not want this to be, I don't want this to be misconstrued as judgment. All I'm saying is this is what feeds me. And this is why I do things at this point in time. 8 years ago, 7 years ago, it was a different story.
Yes.
I needed transactions.
No, but that's something we've said right off the start. There is different, and that's why I asked, where's Lucy year 1, Lucy year 11? How does Simeon get started in the business? Where was Simeon year 1? Where is Simeon year 15? Lucy year 1, Lucy year 11. I want to bring this podcast to a close, I want to have Lucy, if you may please share with me your top 3 pieces of advice to anyone. Doesn't have to be a mortgage broker, a real estate broker, a regular person listening to us. Where are you at in your life right now? What's your top 3 pieces of advice?
Okay.
Business or life?
The first one I've mentioned before is there's never a lack of resources. There's a lack of resourcefulness. If you want it, you will find it. If it's important enough to you, you will find a way.
You'll make the time.
And you will make the time. You will find that resource. But it has to be really important to you. The second is make a commitment. Well, I hear so many times, well, I don't know, I'm going to try out mortgage brokering.
Don't try out mortgage brokering.
Don't try anything. Do it or don't.
Yeah.
If you're in it, you're in it. You can't be in real estate or mortgage brokering halfway. You can't. And the third piece of advice is find the mentor and ask for help. Because you don't know what you don't know. And I don't know what I don't know. So those are the 3 things that I would say.
I will say to mentorship, it's year 15. I have a number of mentors active right this second.
Mm-hmm.
And I am an active mentor to a number of team members, friends, and strategic partners. Mentorship is where I will leave my piece of advice today.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lucy, for coming here as a real estate veteran, as a mortgage professional. I truly appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
And I truly hope that every single one of my brothers and sisters in the business have found some of this insight helpful, inspirational. And of course, if you want to reach out to Lucy, all her information is in the descriptor on both our YouTube channels and on all the audio platforms. Lucy Biocca is out of Ontario, 11-year vet. Reach out to her directly for anything you may need. Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so very much for spending your time with us here at Brokers Playbook. This is a growing community. If you found value in this video, please invite others to subscribe and, of course, share the videos with. We'll see you soon.